Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Thursday edition of Video Clips, which is brought to you by Wellness Forum Health, the Wellness Forum Institute, and Make Americans Free Again. Just a couple quick announcements. The Autoimmune Disease Boot Camp starts tomorrow night. It's a Friday night, Saturday, all day, 2 sessions about the origin of autoimmune diseases. How do you get them? How do you keep from getting more of them? What to do if you have one? We're talking about the conditions like psoriasis and rheumatoid arthritis and inflammatory bowel disease, etc. So we're going to look at that for 7.5 hours of time. I could do it for 24, but we're going to condense it down so it's reasonable for people for a weekend. So that starts tomorrow. And if you're interested, I can send you more details, Pam Popper at wellnessforum.com. The other thing is the Diet and Lifestyle Intervention course, which we offer twice a year, starts on August 13th. It's a 15 class series. Lay people can take it, but it's designed for health professionals primarily. And it covers men's health, children's health, women's health, vaccinations, cancer, heart disease, Alzheimer's disease, diabetes, obesity, etc. So super, super course, about 45 hours of education. It's pretty inexpensive. So again, if you want the brochure, just send me an email at pampopper at wellnessforum.com. So first news items, real short, some good news. We have a court date for oral arguments in one of the EcoHealth cases in the Second Circuit Court of Appeals in New York. So it's September 15th, just a few weeks away. Time flies. We'll be there before you know it. As I always say, litigation's like watching paint dry, but this is proof that the paint does dry. We'll keep you posted, but between now and then, our attorneys will be busy getting ready for oral arguments in one of the EcoHealth cases, which is super fantastic. I mean, it's a long time coming, this stuff. And I know as much as I try to keep you updated week to week, there's just I'm sure some of you just wonder, like, when is something going to happen? And things do happen. They're just kind of not, they're spaced out. Let's put it that way. They don't happen one right after another. But stay patient because we're working on it. The fact that we don't have a progress report every single week on every single case doesn't mean that we're not working on it. The second item, I actually had wanted to talk about something else, and then a lot of you sent me emails about this, and I decided that I would go on ahead and substitute this, and it has to do with the resignation of Dr. Vinay Prasad, who was briefly head of the FDA Chair Center for Biologics Evaluation and Research. I do know Dr. Prasad. He spoke at one of our conferences a few years ago. I don't have any regular contact with him. And as of the time that I'm making this video anyway, I have not seen any public statements from him about what caused him to resign. I have subscribed to his Substack, and I was reading his newsletters and things regularly for the last couple of years. So I have a pretty good feel for what he stands for and that sort of thing. I was pretty excited when he got appointed to this post because I expected that he would do some great things. So I'll just tell you what I know and I'll give you some commentary because I think it's important for what we're doing. So, way back when, Prasad was an early critic of the COVID vaccines, particularly for low-risk people and children. He wrote a very good article with a couple of other scientists reporting that the signal for pericarditis and myocarditis was crystal clear for adolescent boys and young men for the COVID vaccines. He was against mandates. He was very outspoken about masks and other COVID measures. Historically, he has never been shy. He's written entire books about corruption and problems in the medical system, including government and institutional incompetence and greed. In other words, I can't claim that I would agree with everything he ever said. He's one of the good guys. And if we were all in a room together right now, I think there would be a lot more things about which MAFA members and Prasad would agree upon than disagree. There were reasons to be super hopeful with him in a leadership role at FDA. And initially, it looked like it was going to be a dream come true. While at his FDA post, Prasad got into a scrap with Sarepta Therapeutics regarding its gene therapy product for muscular dystrophy patients. FDA started investigating the deaths of two boys who died suddenly after receiving treatment in June of this year. Sarepta stopped shipping the product for a while, but it did start shipping it the day before Prasad resigned. Whether or not that's important, I don't know, but I'll just continue. We'll come back to that. Also, while at his post, Prasad overrode his FDA colleagues on decisions concerning vaccines, COVID vaccines. FDA's vaccine staff approved the Novavax vaccine as an alternative to mRNA shots, and also a next generation version of the Moderna mRNA vaccine for ages 12 and older. And Prasad said, quote, even rare vaccination-related harms, both known and unknown, now have a higher chance of outweighing potential benefits in non-high-risk populations. And he wrote that in a document overriding staff members on the Novavax shot. On the Moderna approval, Dr. Prasad filed a what they call center director override memo. It's a document signed very rarely when top officials substitute their decisions for the findings of their staff experts. So again, this is all very, very encouraging. Of course, as you might imagine, the hysteria ensued with the cabal claiming that Prasad was ignoring how dangerous COVID remained for most people. And an expert on infectious disease, Daniel Griffin at Columbia University, stated that, quote, it is a dark time in the history of public health when political appointees overrule expert recommendations, pick and choose data to support their ideology, and use their position to advance personal agendas. Just what you would expect, right? Prasad's division also rejected several other drugs recently. So I would say, until yesterday when this happened, all in all, things were going well for our side, with Prasad making many decisions that went against the cabal. Of course, the operate term is seemed to be going very well, right? So what happened, I'll just tell you what I think. Some of the people who we think might be on our side decided to start commenting about Prasad. You've heard me say for over 5 years now how destructive the people on our side can be, and they did not disappoint in going after Dr. Prasad. Apparently, Prasad has made statements in the past indicating that he might have been, at least at some point, a progressive. Laura Loomer, a conservative, posted a piece titled Meet Vinay Prasad, the progressive leftist saboteur undermining President Trump's FDA. I mean, just by the title, I can't imagine somebody writing an article like that. This guy was taking aggressive action and taking a lot of heat for it to not approve the COVID vaccines for everybody, to override his expert panels and that sort of thing. A Wall Street Journal contributor chimed in, quote, Vinay Prasad is a Bernie Sanders acolyte and Maha drag. And the same day, the Wall Street Journal's editorial board criticized FDA for its actions around surreptitious gene therapies, suggesting the move might, quote, chill investment in new drugs. Well, of course, Wall Street Journal sometimes is pretty pro-drug companies because they're big moneymakers for their subscribers. Marty Makary, head of FDA, defended Prasad, stating that he didn't have a political bone in his body. And I could say, and all the things I know about him, have read, and that sort of thing, he was really not very political as much as he was just for patient rights, for telling the truth, for regulatory actions that make sense, et cetera, et cetera. Makary said he was an impeccable scientist and he was one of the great scientists of our generation. I totally agree with that. I did then, and I agree with that now. But here's the thing. It's one thing to stand up and deal with the cabal and the threats and the character assassination and the all-out efforts to undermine and discredit anyone who disagrees with the cabal's agenda. I signed up for it too. I was prepared for it. I've been the subject of the vitriol and the threats and all that. I imagine Prasad knew what he was getting himself into. But the other side of it is conservatives and health freedom folks, conservatives tend to be advocates for health freedom, just can't seem to restrain themselves from ruining almost everything they touch eventually. A statement made 5 years ago, a decision that might have been a step in the right direction but didn't go far enough, and the firing squad shows up in full gear. If the person doesn't deliver 100% of what the conservative health freedom cabal wants when it wants it, there's hell to pay. In this case, Prasad should have gotten rid of all the COVID vaccines. He apparently sometime in his past expressed some liberal views, so he must be gotten rid of. We must find people who can fix things faster and have never uttered a word that we disagree with. This is why attempts to fix things haven't worked for 100 years. Our side, if you can call, the side against all the government overreach and the medical cabal and the pharmaceutical misbehavior and on and on and on. Our side's just as responsible for the status quo as the cabal itself is, right? And this brings me to a couple of things. Why we at MAFA don't collaborate and form alliances and all the nice things you're supposed to do, play nice in the sandbox with other people who represent some of the same values. The conservative health freedom sandbox is toxic and we have to stay out of it, in my opinion. I stand by our commitment to do what we're doing on our own. Sometimes we succeed, sometimes we don't, but at least we can stay focused on the real target, public health, government and medical institutions, drug and vaccine makers, instead of targeting each other. The other thing about this that I think is important to comment on is we sure do have some work to do. I mean, if we're waiting for the government to fix itself, there are some good things happening, but just as many bad things happening. I mean, if Prasad had been able to stay there for 4 years, can you imagine what he might have been able to accomplish? So it just isn't going to be as easy. I mean, I know some people fantasize about waking up to a completely reformed government that takes all the responsibility away from us to fix things. It's not going to happen. It sure would be easier. I'd love it too, but it's a pipe dream. So, if we want things to be better, we're going to have to do it ourselves. We're going to have to do it through gathering enough people that we can fund litigation, continue to fund it, gathering enough people that we can flip the switch and have our own healthcare system. I mean, we have to set it up for ourselves. And the fix and the saving of us, saving our healthcare system and saving us is not just going to, it's just not going to come from outside. So it's important sometimes to remember that. It gets us remotivated to the cause, lets us know that it's up to us. If it's going to happen, it's up to us, me, you, and all the other people we gather. So, my usual donate if you can. And by the way, let me just say, since I started commenting on how important little donations are, like if somebody donates $5 a month, it changes things a lot for us. And if everybody watching this video donated $5 a month, they wouldn't have to ask you every week for money. So whatever you can donate, $1, $5, whatever, please do it. It does help. And the second thing is let's invite people to our tribe meetings and let's start new tribes. We really have to grow this movement. Growth and numbers and money are what can change it from the outside. And when you think about most wonderful things that have happened in history have happened not because government solved problems or made life better. It's because people and organizations and the private sector did it. So let's just recommit ourselves to this cause. And Vinay Prasad's resignation, which I think was probably just done in complete frustration with the whole situation, is a reminder that it's up to us. All right, that's all for today. As usual, pass this on to anybody who you think would enjoy watching it. That's part of how we grow our movement, is to send these videos to people who you know. So we sure appreciate when you do that. And I will be back to you next week with more news. Thank you so much for watching.